Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 12th of May, and when I first woke up and realized what today was, or the date, for some reason I thought it was an important date, but I couldn't figure out why, so I let it go. But it's also a cold, 47-degree morning with rain. Now, a lot of us have a hard time with the weather as we get older. I notice I am between back and knee problems. Of course, my job doesn't do my knees or my back any favors. And of course, this cough of mine and throat issues is getting worse, um, which basically means it's going to be a bad year for health reasons, not any other reasons, just health reasons. I forgot to take the spoon out. Shame on me. Um, mm. It's been a interesting 24 hours. Um, Yesterday we made for our main meal, our family meal basically, a I don't want to call it a quiche because it's not quite a quiche. It's not our usual breakfast omelet type casserole. There we go. Casserole is the word I'm looking for. Instead of using a layer of potatoes on the bottom, usually that's what we do. Shredded potatoes go on the bottom. Then it's basically the um, meat egg mixture poured on top of that with a layer of cheese on top of that. This time we did it differently. We took a roll of croissants, we flattened them out on the bottom of the baking dish, and then put our layered cheese, or not layered cheese, excuse me, our layer of meat, half bacon, half sausage, and then the cheese, and then just a egg and heavy cream mixture on top of that, and made that for our main meal. Then we looked in our refrigerator thinking about what we're going to have for our meal today and decided that we were thinking about leftovers because we got a lot of leftovers. But we're thinking mom's supposed to be going out for a hair appointment. I don't know what time she's doing that. So Jerry and I might be making excuse me, a chicken spinach artichoke type thing. Um, as if Jerry feels up to it, since that's basically something that is her realm of expertise more than mine. Um, but then Monday at work is usually the busy day, or a kind of hectic busy day because it's also truck day. Surprisingly enough, the only thing I had to worry about from the truck was just organizing and straightening out tobacco, because the young lady who's supposed to do that, she just shoves it into the area that it's supposed to go into without any kind of rhyme or reason or organizational skills. It drives me bonkers. But I got a little upset at work because, not just because of the fact that it was so busy that my last customer walked out my door at like 10:05 because they ran in at 3 till the hour to use the restroom, out of all things. But what got me upset wasn't the volume of customers. It's a combination of Thursday night I organized, straightened, and basically made the Beard Cave look the way it's supposed to. I come in last night, and somebody over the 3 days that I was gone basically wrecked it, which irritated me. Not to the point where I got irate, but it just irritated me to the point where it's like I can't do I don't know what to say. So I am pretty close to 75% sure that I'm going to hear complaints or read complaints about the way the store looked. I mean, I cleaned it, I mopped it, swept it, wiped it all down. I didn't get to the things like fixing the bear cave, um, facing things, little stuff like that that most places don't worry about, especially when they know it's getting busy. But that's not always the case here. It is what it is. I go in there, I punch the clock, I work my butt off, come home hurting like crazy. I mean, last night I was hurting to the point that I was ready to basically go find a doctor who can help me get medical. It's a form of Social Security, but it's for medical. It's for people who have medical disabilities that basically make it hard for them to work. Um, I don't really like the idea of having to collect Social Security or money from the government or whatnot for something that flares up. Well, it's been flaring up worse and worse the last couple of weeks, but I guess it's that stubborn side of me that goes, "Hey, you can still work. You just can't work as hard or as much or carry and lift as much or bend and stoop and squat as much. You can still work. You just can't do everything that is required all the time or as much." So it's like one of those, where do I draw the line? How can I convince my supervisor that I can't do the bending and lifting all the time? I mean, what's the worst you can do? Fire me? Um, because I noticed that there are two of my crew members who have basically put in on paper, I can only work certain days of the week because I have another job. And her response was, "That's not my problem." What? They're letting you know that they can only work certain days of the week because of another job. Like the last one. The last one is basically she had got a new job, so she can only work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And on paper, and I could probably take a picture of this tonight, on paper, she had basically put, "Not my problem. Not your problem. You're the supervisor, and we're letting you know politely that we can only work certain days of the week because of another job." How's that not your problem? I mean, all you have to do is basically make the schedule where that particular person only works those particular days. But that's her answer to anything that she doesn't want to deal with. Not my problem. How did you become a supervisor with that kind of attitude? I it boggles my brain. It's like, we're being nice enough to let you know that we either need a certain time off or we can only work certain days, or in my case, I can't do everything at nighttime anymore. Can you switch me to days? All right, fine. Then when does it become your problem? When somebody has an accident at work and they have to be rushed to the hospital and somebody has to cover the rest of that person's shift? I was not exactly joking when I told my coworker that works with me at night, um, what if I go into the beer cave to do my job and my lower lumbar disc decides to basically rupture? I mean, not just have a little crack in it, but ruptured to the point where I collapse on the ground in severe pain, and my coworker has to call 911, and then the medical people have to call my wife and my mom because of that situation. It happened at work. Is that going to be her problem then? It better be, because I can see all kinds of not only just medical issues for me, but lawsuits, possibly. My wife going into the job site when she's there and ripping her a new one. Definitely. Definitely. My mom getting on the computer and writing a very long, possible multi-page letter front and back to the corporation about this situation. Possibly. You know, I'm not one for wanting to start problems, but I'm like, ever since this supervisor came in and took over, she's like, I'm not compared to Trump. She's like Trump, blaming on the previous person. Basically, say the previous person who was in charge didn't do their job properly. That must be the new attitude of America. Blame it on the previous manager. Blame it on somebody but just but yourself. I mean, yeah, I blame a lot of things on other people, but the thing is, I also know that I'm just as much to blame. Um, there's a lot of things that happen here at the house, at work. Well, not much at the house, but more at work. I think the work is causing me stress, which causes issues here at the house. But it seems like the last couple before Christmas, it's become the point the finger at the other crew, blame the other crew for not doing their fair share. There are, on average, not including the manager, the store manager, not including the store manager, there's an average to 3 to 4 people in the store during the daytime. And on average, even on our busiest nights, there's only 2 of us. If I have people coming in back to back the whole night, and numbers reflect that, how can you bitch and moan about the night crew not doing their job? Of course we didn't do our job. We were doing customers. We were helping customers. There are nights that I don't get out from behind that counter until 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I have a whole store to take care of. That's not a 2.5 hour deal. That's several. That's most of the, if everything was done right by the whole store, and I'm not pointing fingers at Cruz, by the whole store, the closing aspect of the store would be a whole lot easier. I would only have to deal with the basic cleaning, wiping down counters, sweeping the floors, mopping. That's what I get to when I can't get to everything else. I empty out the coffee bins, I empty out the tea urns, I clean up the components. I don't always get the chance to face or stock. Those are the 2 things that are like on the lowest aspect of my list because there are so many people during the daytime. That and a factor. I'm not like some of these people who want to milk the clock and do virtually nothing. If you've gotten this far in the video because you didn't shut it off as soon as I started complaining, if you can't tell, yes, it was a bad day. I talked to Jerry Ann on the way home from work on the phone, and she basically told me to stop, and we'll talk more about it when we got home because she didn't want me to get into an accident. But I ranted at Jerry about the whole night, and she subsequently, of course, after I settled down and whatnot, told me about her night. And she was having a bad night too because there was a lot of issues with our medical insurance and just a lot of things going on before I even went to work, that she was stressed out about. Of course, she spent a good, well, she said at least 2 hours on the phone with her bestie in Texas, basically because she was so stressed and whatnot, bawling her eyes out. Now, she didn't give me a lot of details. She just gave me the gist of it, and I feel sorry for her because actually she had to deal with it. And I'm not the best person to deal with certain things because the fact that I just get to the point where I'm like I'm so confused I can't deal with it, and it needs to be dealt with. So Jerry Ann does a lot of things here at the house that I can't fully do myself because I'm not a business person. I'm not one of these people who can handle confusing details and information by the insurance company. Um, she had her sister-in-law from Texas or from New York help her out and kind of understand some of what they were trying to say. I don't know if Joanne called the insurance company or not, but she said she got it dealt with, so I'm happy about that. One of the many reasons why I wish I could just retire, or whether I'm getting medical benefits or not medical benefits. I don't know if you call it SSI or one of the different Social Security type benefits that have to deal with people who have to retire early due to physical ailments or disabilities. Not just because I don't want to work no more, which is not true. I like working. I like getting out of the house to do stuff. It is my time away from Jerry to basically not only earn an income. I'm not putting anybody down who can't go earn an income, but it gives us the time to be away from each other to detox. Um, Granted, I'm not really detoxing because of the fact that I am working in a semi toxic environment. I guess you call it semi toxic. But anyhow, I'd rather be here at the house to help her out with what she needs help with, to be able to do my own thing, whether it's sitting in here doing the video, reading, whatever. Um, and right now, because of COVID, I'm guessing it's because of COVID. Businesses are not as, I don't know what the words are. I mean, right now, here in my neck of the woods, things are starting to open back up. Um, my weekly newsletter from the Netherlands is basically telling me that they're starting to slowly, you know, open back up, but they're following guidelines by the CDC and their government and what all is going on. Um, Liz could tell me how things are going in her part of England or the UK. I don't want to separate everybody, but I've been told by a couple of the viewers that their area still is closed up. Um, I kind of understand those places that are still closed up because the factor here in the states we're still going through phases of severity of the COVID epidemic, And this is supposed to be the second week of our worst cases for our part of America. Yet we're opening stuff up, which I guess if you follow CDC guidelines, um, you have a little less chance of contracting the virus. Um, I've been watching various medical professionals who do YouTube channels who talk about the epidemic, and I don't remember everything they say, but one of the sorry, don't mean to be yawning. I'm not tired. I'm just not getting enough oxygen, I guess. Dr. Mike, who is on YouTube, is one of Jerry-Ann's go-to. He talks about what's going on and he debunks some of the fake news that's going on around us, and then tells us the facts. There was another person that we watched, and I can't remember their YouTube handle or who they are, but they're another medical professional, and I think the person is a member or connected to CDC in one way or another, because the information he talks about I can go online and find from any of the different CDC websites. In fact, Facebook, YouTube, a lot of the major internet media groups have little buttons in their homepage that you can tap on, and it will give you the latest information on the COVID virus and what's going on in your area. Um, Sorry, my candle is making noises behind me. Public inspector is getting ready to die or something. But okay. But it is believed by some of the researchers and whatnot that there is a chance that another pandemic or mass, not just globally but locally, the U.S., a second wave of COVID or a form of COVID, they're predicting anywhere from a 60 to 70% chance of a second wave. And I'm like, well, I'm ready. I mean, yeah, I feel sorry for the factor that a lot of the farmers and a lot of the meat packers are losing business because there's not enough people to help with the farms. So a lot of farmers are having to plow over, plow over or plow under the crops. They basically are destroying viable crops because of the fact that there's not enough people to help pick it before it rots. Um, and then there's the meat packing companies that had to shut down because they found cases of COVID. Keep on saying bird. The pandemic have been found in the plants. Mostly right now it's like bovine. So we still get pork. We have some chicken. Only one company has had a problem with COVID in their packing company, and I can't remember if it was Tyson or Purdue, because those are the two major companies I know about. Um, they haven't found anything in the packing plants to deal with pork, unless pork and beef are done in the same packing plant, and that doesn't sound right, but I'm not sure about that one. So, if you've noticed a less and less amount of beef in your grocery stores, or your grocery stores have basically said only X number or X amount of poundage per family, which is kind of like, for my family, one 4 pound pack of ground beef, that's four separate meals. But then you have the bigger families that have 5, 6 members within their family, where a 4 pound pack of ground beef might be 1 to 2 meals. So if you have a local group or a local, what am I trying to say? If you have a local farmer or anybody who's basically offering up, selling, giving away produce, especially produce, um, I would support them. If you have a local grocery store who is basically trying to sell anything that might be a day or two out of date, um, there's no harm in buying that, because they have a date, a shelf, what they call a shelf life date. Now, that shelf life date basically means if it hasn't been sold by that time, they either need to mark it down or get rid of it. Now, if they mark it down, that just means they're trying to get rid of it before its actual spoilage date. So basically, you can buy something that says sell by. That means they have to get rid of it off their shelf by that date. Then if you look at it, there's a expiration date. Usually the expiration date is 4 to 5 days after the sell by date, because they have a 4 to 5 day leeway to get rid of it before it's considered no longer viable or no longer sellable. And usually the expiration date is if you have not basically bought it, frozen it, whatever you plan on doing with it by that date, you have at least 1 to 2 more days after the actual expiration date before it's totally spoiled, before it's basically need to get rid of it because it could be harmful. I know this information because I've worked in grocery stores. Um, I'll tell you the grocery stores as soon as my brain clicks. Um, in New York, I worked at Wallbounds and Stop and Shop. Here in Missouri, I worked in Kroger and Price Chopper. Those are the 4 stores I've worked in and gained enough knowledge to know what I'm talking about. Excuse me. But if you buy it by the store sell by date, you have a minimum of 4 days, a maximum of 6, before you need to basically just get rid of it. If you have bought it by the expiration date, or I should say by the sell by date, and it's been sitting in your freezer, that's fine. It can sit in your freezer for weeks on end and still be good. I think I've got a pack of is it ground turkey or is it ground beef? I don't remember. But what I do when I get my 4 pound packages of ground beef is I divide it into either 1 pound or 2 pound packages, put it in a Ziploc bag, make sure I get as much air out of that Ziploc bag as possible, and then write a date that I put it in the freezer. That way I know which one was first, which one was last, which, what we call in the industry FIFO, first in, first out. Um, that way you don't have a chunk of ground beef in there getting frostbitten that's been sitting in there for a month or more, and then you kind of go, is it still usable or not? I mean, it's been in the freezer for a month. If it's been sitting in the freezer for a month, and I know from experience, you can pull it out, defrost it, and use it, but you have to use it right after it's been defrosted, because the longer it sits in your refrigerator defrosted, the more chances you can get some sort of contaminant. That's why usually when I bring out a package of meat, whether it's chicken, ground beef, or pork, I try to use it within 24 to 48 hours of defrost. I'm giving you this information because of the way things are with COVID. Between the factor of the various meat packing plants, whether it's chicken or beef, those are two I've heard about the most, or the factor of the produce, the farmers are basically plowing their fields and basically destroying crops that are basically can't get to in time, can't pick them in time, can't harvest them in time. Now I know for the big crop companies, big produce companies, they have special equipment and whatnot that can do the picking. All they have to do is drive the tractors. I don't know about here, but I know over in Europe they've got Europe. They're very techno savvy when it comes to certain things. I've heard about in the Netherlands that they have equipment that they're slow moving pieces of equipment, but they do the job of 5 people at once. And literally things that most people go, oh, you can't use a machine to harvest carrots or potatoes or cabbage. They've actually discovered ways of doing it with equipment. Never seen it before, but I've heard stories about it. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. Um, but here in the States, and part of the problem in the States, and I'll be honest with you, I know there's a lot of paranoia over the COVID, but I also know that if you follow CDC guidelines, um, you're protecting yourself. For instance, we have enough people here in the States that we can do the jobs that need to be done. There are plenty of people out there who are willing to work in a field and whatnot for a decent wage. And I know a lot of people who are like, well, I can't really afford to pay a bunch of people because I don't have that kind of money. That's why I rely on what they call migrant workers. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I know when I was living in Arizona, a lot of the migrant workers were people who had work visas coming out of Mexico, South America, Central America, wherever, to help on the farms and locations in California, Texas, maybe the southwestern states. Now, because of the COVID, we've kind of like tightened our borders and trying to basically keep incoming people, let alone outgoing people, at a minimum. I know some people have to go to their home countries because they have dual citizenship, or they still got family down Mexico, Canada, wherever they're from. Um, but here in the states, we've got enough people who currently are unemployed that are looking for some sort of work. Now, I know some people might go, "Oh, farming. I just really don't know how to do that." It's not that hard. A lot of times they give you the protective equipment, gloves, whatever, to basically help harvest. And the thing is, if you set it up just right, you can still do social distancing. But then there are people like me who have allergies and whatnot. Masks that will help prevent the spread of the virus, because most of the virus, from what Dr. Mike says, comes from our mucus. It gets into, if we have it or even if we don't have it, um, it can get into whether you have it and you're breathing out or you don't have it and you breathe it in. That's basically how it happens. That's why the social distancing, the masks, the gloves aren't a necessity. The gloves are an optional thing. I know a lot of companies are like, we went to Colton's. The Our server had glove and mask because that's what the company wanted to help prevent the accidental spreading. Now, if you don't work with a company that gives you gloves, or if you don't work right now, the mask itself is a very large block. Um, the reason why the gloves is, let's say the worker gets it on their gloves and the worker touches their face, which they're not supposed to, rub their eyes, scratch their nose, whatever, they can get contaminated. Excuse me. Now, my company has given us disposable masks, several boxes worth, and each the masks are basically wrapped in plastic. Um, Unfortunately, not everybody's wearing those masks properly. I've seen my coworkers with it around their chin, and I'm like, "Do you breathe through your chin? Please put the mask on." Not just because of the fact that I'm worried for myself, but I'm worried for everybody. I have two people in my home that my wife has the same thing I do, allergies and whatnot, which compromises the immune system. My mom is getting up there in age. That, in fact, she's a smoker. That compromises the immune system. That's one of the reasons why when I come home, my mask either stays in a Ziploc bag or goes directly into a wash. Like, I'll hand wash it. That's why I'm glad I got this secondary mask now. I just received it. This is today's haul. Actually, it's designed for bike riding. So you're a rider as a bike rider, and it has the insert, and then I got like, I think maybe a dozen replacement inserts. The carbon filter, and it has ventilation holes for breathing. For breathing, the holes themselves. Oh, I see what it is. There's a hole in the actual filter, and it goes. I'm looking at this going, how does this go through? It just goes through the actual material that you're supposed to breathe through. But this particular one is a valve, so it's for exhaling. Yet, if you look at it right, you've got inhale holes where you can see through the holes the carbon filter. I got this as a secondary mask, so I don't wear the same mask constantly. I don't have to wash it constantly. I can basically wear the one mask, change out the filter, which I'm supposed to be getting more filters here in the next day or two. Change out the filter, and I love how it's got multiple languages on here, just to describe what it is. So I can basically wear the one mask 2 days, put the other mask on for 2 days, and not have to worry about, oh, I've worn this mask 3 days in a row. I have to go back to work a fourth day. What am I going to do so I'm not recontaminating my mask over and over and over again? So I, got smart. That, in fact, I'm hoping once everything starts to settle down and get warmer, I'm hoping to go out and get myself a bike so I can start bike riding. I actually like to get two bikes. I like to get one for myself, and then I like to get one of those. I call them beachcomber bikes because it's an adult trike. It's an adult three-wheel bike. Jerry's always seen those. Go, oh, I would love to have one of those, and I'm like, 1 year, 1 year. Problem is, right now, I think for both of us, and especially Jerry, and we need to get our stamina back up so we can do bike rides. Bike riding around here might be a little bit difficult because it's not very flat. It's a lot of hills and dales. But anyhow, I wanted to tell you everything I just told you because of the fact I not only do I want to pass out the information I know or I have, and I accept any information you may have. That, in fact, I want you all to be safe. I'm not telling you to be panicking and stay home. Um, we took Mom out Sunday for Colton's. We enjoyed that. Um, somebody asked me, they wanted to know what we had at Colton's, and I'm like, okay. Um, so basically, what we had was when we get to Colton's, we always order like a side dish of the mozzarella sticks. We usually get the bigger one because there's like 8, and we usually bring home 3 to 4. I think we brought home 4 to 5 because I didn't partake, and I wasn't feeling that great, and I just wanted to stay away from cheese because cheese and I sometimes don't agree, and with my stomach already being a little queasy as is, I didn't want to risk it. Um, Mom gets her usual steak and baked potato. I didn't get my usual. I actually got something totally different just because of the fact of the way I was feeling. So I got like fried shrimp and a side salad, which for some reason I was having the hardest time with swallowing the salad. I don't know if it was because of my dentures or I just have a hard time swallowing things lately, and I don't know why. Of course, Jerry Ann had what did Jerry Ann have? Oh yeah, she had steak with grilled shrimp, their string beans and rice pilaf. Um, that's basically what we had. Of course, they always serve us rolls, so we had the rolls. Um, basically, nothing really fancy. I didn't get my normal. My usual when I go to Colton's is either their Hawaiian chicken or um, Hawaiian chicken or steak is what I normally get. But like I said, I that's basically what we had. Anywho, I don't have my watch on right now, so I can't tell the time. But I'm pretty sure it's closer to 12 than I wanted it to be. Once again, talk too much. Anyhow, hopefully you guys have. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and if you did, you can give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment box. Um, if you're new to my channel and want to subscribe or hear more, go ahead and give that bell a tap. If you are a subscriber and you've got friends and family who might enjoy these videos, ask them to watch them and maybe they'll join. Thanks to, by the looks of it, thanks to the cooking video and the update on that video and possibly other viewers, that in fact I'm starting to put hashtags on here. I am now at about 819, 820 thereabouts, I think. I don't remember. I looked at it yesterday and I went, oh wow, it's jumped even more again, which is great. I know I know a lot of things are changing with YouTube, and it's beneficial for some, not so beneficial for others. But I'm thankful for those who have joined. It's been a real boost in confidence. It's been a real boost in all the things I've been wanting to do. But anyhow, God bless. Have a good day and enjoy. Bye.